Welcome in, everybody, to the Anti-Stall Racing League IMSA series here. And this is round number 2 from Watkins, Glen, an absolutely magnificent course in the good old US of A. We have a 1 hour long race scheduled for you. Cars are currently out there in qualifying. I am one of your 2 commentators here, Ava, joined by the ever lovely Wes. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I missed last week, but I'm here for this one, and it looks nuts from practice, so I cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, honestly, this IMSA series last week was absolutely ridiculous. The amount of cars we had on track and the amount of action we had on track at Indianapolis, it's probably the most that track has ever seen in one place. It was insane. And, you know, the qualifying here split into GT3s go out first, and I believe off the top of my head it's for 12 minutes, then we have a switch over where we then have the LMPs go out for another 12 minutes, qualifying just after that. Everybody is currently on the way of setting their first flying laps, and there indeed is your race control team of today as well. Kevin Stam is your director with Paolo Lopez and Niels behind the scenes. So if you want to dispute any penalties, they're the ones you talk to. They're the ones you message after the fact and be like, hey. Obviously, you know, we hope penalties don't happen, but of course, you know, in racing, you're heated up, you're trying to battle with the guy beside you, mistakes happen. You know, we've all done it. But yes, obviously we hope there's good clean racing, and for the most part from at least last week, in what you could consider a very tight and technical circuit, it was incredibly clean. It was probably one of the most clean races that I've at least seen in terms of multi-class for a while. So as the first couple of times get in, we see Ryan Martin immediately go to the top, much like he did last week with a 141.6, which, I'm going to be honest, that is around the sort of lap times we were seeing from them in practice. So that is your benchmark, and Suarez comes in there to do a 141.5 with Nespolino there with a 141.6. So once again, GT3 qualifying is going to be blooming close. Fabio coming in with a 141.3 as well. We love to see it. And, you know, there are obviously names in here that we expect to do well. Obviously, after last week, there's a few big names who maybe didn't necessarily get the results that they probably should have last week. So we're going to be expecting to maybe see them try and get up the order a little bit higher up. But I mean, Wes, for your first race in IMSA, at least in terms of the broadcasting and commentating side of it, you're joining a pretty good track to do it on.
Yeah, people absolutely love Watkins Glen, don't they? And I'm not going to disagree with them at all. I like to drive it. It's I think it's quite a nice circuit. It flows well. Good spots for overtaking. Yeah, it's a good all-round set, especially for a track that is in America. No, not too harsh a judgment, but it's probably one of the better tracks that is in America. And yeah, it flows well. Look at this, just up that hill as well. You know, it's got bang. It's good. It's a good circuit, good all round, and it flows well. The nature of the land, good overtaking. You can go side by side through quite a few of the corners too. Then you throw in another class. There are places where they can pass cleanly as well. It's good. It's a really good, I'd say, good safe track. But you've got some fast corners, some long. It's good. I like it.
You have a nice mix of everything around Watkins Glen, and it's a track that will really keep you on your toes as well. You know, you take a look at a lot of the corners, and a lot of them, you would have to say, actually, in terms of overtaking, you know, you've got overtaking opportunities into turn 1. If you're feeling brave, you can try it into the bus stop. I wouldn't recommend it, but I'm sure we're going to be seeing some LMP2s try for moves around there on the slower class cars later on. It's always something that's not necessarily on, but a lot of drivers will think that it's on every time, as we see the two teammates in that Altitude Esports team towing each other along. That's another thing as well that's going to be really important, especially around a track like Watkins Glen. There's a lot of straights, actually, in Watkins, where you can gain quite a bit of time off of managing to let your teammate through, especially after turn 1. You basically don't have to brake then until the bus stop chicane. So if you can manage to get the draft like Ryan has done, then you may find that actually your lap times are going to massively improve because of it.
Yeah, and the braking at the bus stop isn't like a really hard brake, is it? It's just a little bit of a dab, maybe down a gear and go in. That's a slide from the rear there of that Ferrari, but he's kept it well intact. But yeah, it's not too much. Like, the biggest braking zone then is after the next right-hander, isn't it? Into the downhill left, which is quite a difficult one because obviously it's downhill and it's quite easy to mess your brakes up a bit there as everybody goes massively wide there. Don't worry, don't ignore that curve completely. It's not part of the circuit, apparently. The grass is the limit there. That you'll quickly find out as I was watching in practice going, absolutely no one's even attempting to stay over the other side of that curb, so it doesn't count as a curve, I guess. But yeah, the bus stop's a tricky one because obviously how close do you get to the wall? How much curve do you take? Is your car going to bounce across it? You know, and do you throw it down the inside of the bus stop? Because obviously it's not too much of a braking zone, but if you brake a little bit less than the car in front, you could get them, as that is a very close top lot of cars. There is Ferrari of Ryan Martin intruding the Porsches there.
Very quick lap. Porsche around here historically has been very strong, at least within iRacing. Obviously, real life, something completely different. They have many other methods that they can use to, you know, BOP everyone and make sure that everyone, even between sessions, is nice and close between all the different manufacturers. Obviously, we don't have that luxury within iRacing, so you'll find that Porsche around here will probably do very well, as we just see Fabio Ponta go there onto a 141.1 so far. No one breaking into the 140s yet, which I'm imagining that if anyone does, that's going to be it, pretty much. That's just going to be your pole position, and I don't think anyone else is going to touch you.
Yeah, you'd think that, wouldn't you? Just look at the amount of cars that are everywhere. I know we split the classes, but traffic still looks to... Oh, he's definitely been blocked there, hasn't he? He's definitely been blocked, and he is pulling off.
He's very, very annoyed. Flashing of the lights, which again is another thing we're going to see a lot of. People flashing the lights. As per usual in multi-class racing, faster class cars going to keep flashing their lights to go up the inside of you, even though it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make a move, just making sure you're aware, you know, hey, I am behind you, I will be trying to make a move as soon as possible. And that's the other thing as well, is communication is very important between your GTs and your LMPs because of the speed difference. You're looking at about almost 10 seconds per lap difference in speed between the GT3s and the LMP2s around a circuit like this because of all these high-speed corners. You know, through the bus stop chicane, the LMPs are carrying so much more speed that they almost need to line the move up, at least in terms of the next corner after that. They need to line it up very much 3 or 4 corners in advance and let that GT know, hey, I'm going to be making a move not necessarily into the bus stop, but the corner after, I'm going to be going either up the inside or around the outside, and I need to, you know, make sure that I can set myself up so coming out of the bus stop, I'm on the right side of the track to do that. And it's, it's a bit of a... I wouldn't say mind game is the right word, but there is that sort of essence to it of every driver needs to be aware of sort of the the tendencies that other drivers have to if they're in an LMP, for example, are they going to send it up the inside every corner, or are they the type of person to sit back and wait until they're on the straights where they can then just go?
Yeah, I fully agree with that. It is, isn't it? It's learning the other drivers. So you got to learn the drivers that aren't even in your class. If you're an LMP2, you got to learn which GT3s are A, going to get out of the way, or B, stay on their line, or which ones are predictable, which ones aren't. That is what wins you races and championship, is learning the other class to know in traffic, can I throw it up the inside there, or there's a warning for car number 4, which I think we saw for impeding, or are they going to stick to their line, or are they going to get out of the way, because they have to be predictable. If you're an LMP2 driver, that's what you want. You want the GT3s to be predictable, and if you're a GT3 driver, you've got to learn which LMP2 is just going to stick it up my inside, which ones are going to be patient, and then as soon as you know that, that's one thing you don't have to worry about. You have to see the number, or, for example, the livery of the car. As soon as you see that livery and you've got to work out who it is, you know how you've got to drive around them to make sure that you don't have an accident with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's always something that I think a lot of people underestimate is how difficult that actually is, especially early on in a season. You look at, for example, a lot of these drivers will have experience driving against each other within the same class, right? So, for example, Ryan Martin may have experience driving with, just thinking of a name off the top of my head, in LMP, let's take...
Hakon,
yeah. Right? Yeah, so that was a battle that we had last season in GT3, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, definitely. They've definitely had wheel-to-wheel.
So they know how each other drives in the same class, but they may not actually know how each other drives in the class above that. How is Hakon in LMP2? Is he an aggressive driver? Like, if I learned whether or not he was aggressive in GT, does that carry across into LMP, or is he more reserved in prototypes when it comes to multi-class racing because he's not racing for position anymore? And it's going to be these little differences that I think will become apparent much later on into the season, where we'll actually start to see drivers do very different things depending on which driver is around them.
Yeah.
And there will eventually be a point where everyone is so used to everyone they're racing with that either everyone is doing the same thing when it comes to traffic, so all of the LMPs are adopting either a more aggressive route, or they're taking a more back-seated approach and waiting until the straights to finalize the move, as Adam Hedgecock there was improving his lap time and then just unfortunately got it all wrong coming out the final corner.
Didn't he? Yeah, that was definitely a wall bang. They are coming towards 14 minutes, isn't it? So they are coming to the last minute. Do they cross the line before 14 and get to finish their lap? Is that how that works?
I believe so, off the top of my head, yes.
Right, so these last
I believe
cars...
that's how it was, but I don't think anybody last session was doing that.
Okay, well, everyone was done before the 14-minute mark, were they?
Yeah, pretty much. Last session was 12, and I think now it's been slightly extended. I think... I'm not entirely sure on the reasoning behind that. I must admit, I haven't really been keeping track probably as much as I should have, but...
I think there was there a slight delay last time? I think they said that there was a bit of a period in between where there was any action on track. I think they're trying to minimise that, so I think they've given everybody a little longer. So then we have less of a dull moment in the midway.
Between, the GTs and the LMPs getting on track, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? You want there to be less people on track all at the same time, as we're probably already seeing the LMPs. Yeah. I would imagine the LMPs are going to start to queue up.
Honestly,
already.
I've just noticed they are. Two of them are there, waiting already. That's fantastic. That is so cool to see. Two cars already like, yep, we get to go soon. Yep, let's go. There's three of them now. That's awesome. I cannot wait to see that. I hope someone gets a picture of the LMP2s waiting for their turn. Oh, that's actually amazing. As I do assume.
That's the other thing as well, though, is within iRacing, you actually have to worry about things like water temps and oil temps. And if you're just stood still in the pit lane, not moving, then is your engine at risk of damage? I'm not sure if you've ever done it in any endurance racing, where you have you go into the pits and for whatever reason you may have had damage due to sidecar contact or whatever. and you're sat in the pit lane, you know, you're waiting for it all to finish up the damage, and then all of a sudden your engine blows seemingly out of nowhere because you've just been stood still for so long that the engine has gotten too hot and not really done what it should have done.
Yeah, you left it on tick over. And, oh, that's a slide from Fabio in the background. Look at that. Does he get the fast time or does Luigi nick it? Luigi goes second. Don't know if Fabio's going to improve. He doesn't after his drift through the last corner. I want to see that again, and I don't know if I'm possible to do it. Can I see that again? Go on, let's...
We see all of the LMPs there at the exit as well.
Look at Fabio, look at the slide. Oh, we're not gonna... Oh, you can see it a little bit from that angle, but I want to see it from a better one. Do we see it from this angle? Fabio,
Man, I'm obsessed with the Tokyo drift.
Oh, look at that one. He didn't even kiss the wall, did he? Lovely, absolutely lovely. Go back to live.
All of
Look
the
at them
LMPs
go!
already on track.
Look at them go! All of them just sitting their way in. Here comes more and more of them.
So who is first out on track then?
37 is the first one out, so that's Benjamin has got out first.
And Benjamin, obviously last race, only driver to do a one-stop strategy. Potentially is going to be looking for that one again, but it's going to be very, very close. In fact, I believe he mentioned that there may not even be a chance for him to be able to do such, due to just how fuel heavy this car is in LMP, you know, in general with how the engine is. It's very efficient normally, but when you take it into a circuit like this that doesn't have a lot of heavy braking zones, you know, you've got this corner here, you've got maybe turn one, but again, not really.
No,
everything is sort of just like a very late on the brakes dab, as hard as you can, and then immediately off again. Like, it's very much a brush of brake and that sort of it. These cars are so quick around here. It is absolutely insane. I want to see if we can get a full onboard lap here with Benjamin Seiss. For his first lap going into turn one, you want to brake roughly about the 200-meter board, turn it in, hit the apex very nicely. Now, you can run wide, but you got to make sure that you get back on before the end of the curbing, otherwise that will be a 1x. Now, be careful of the inside curb here. It is very slippery, very loose, can spin your car if you're not careful as well. And now, how brave is Benjamin Seiss feeling on this qualifying lap? Very brave indeed, taking all of the curb, and that is insane. And again, just a slight lift through the corners after the bus stop, and again, you'll see just how late they're braking and how deep they go into the corners before they just get back on the power. And interesting, we'll see a couple of different lines forming through, especially the boot section, where, you know, people will either opt for a slightly tighter line going out of that corner and maybe trying to like take a later apex as well, as Benjamin seemed to prefer the later apex on this. And that allows you to obviously get on the power slightly earlier, but taking the slightly later apex means that you're spending a lot more time turning instead of just extending the track like you normally would. So you scrub off a lot of speed doing it that way, almost flat out through the second to last corner, and again, very, very quick final corner as well. This circuit in an LMP2 car is absolutely stunning. If you've never driven it before and you have yourself an iRacing subscription, just do it. Just get straight on it. That was a 1 minute 30.567 from Benjamin Seiss, and that is... He's quick. He is quick, man. Yeah, between him, Castellani, and Izzo, we've got a race on our hands.
Yeah, it was a very quick lap, that one. Absolutely astonishing, because everybody goes above the times on the GT3s. A few more times to get put in, but yeah, look how close it is between the top three. But yeah, that was a brilliant lap. There was no short of confidence going into the bus stop at all. He just threw it in. He knew his car, it bounced, and his car, he was like, cool, and just continued to turn like nothing was wrong. Immense grip from that car, and he's clearly got it set up exactly how he likes. And yeah, as you said, he was doing some late apexes through the boot section, which is intriguing. But yeah, very close lap times. He was getting matched by Lorenzo, but of course he has just pipped him on the first lap of this qualifying session for the LMP2s as everybody continues to put their time in. Interesting that he goes fueled for one run and gone straight in. Lorenzo, though, has gone again. So most of them have gone again, really, as well. So see if fuel starts to maybe be that little difference that there is in the gap at the moment. Maybe it's down to fuel as Lorenzo comes to the last corner now. He has one purple sector.
How close do you want to get to the wall? So let's see.
Oh, he's done it.
He did it. He pipped him. 1 minute 30.3. Max Voss also improving as well. And again, I mean, this is one of those things where once someone does a lap like that 1 minute 30.3, and now Benjamin is now 2/10 off. Like, if Ben doesn't know that he has that 2/10, he's probably going to look at that and go, where?
Yeah, because I'm thinking where, because we were on board his lap, and I'm not sure where. Well, I don't know, but James has also got a purple first sector, and he's chasing Lorenzo down, so he's actually getting the slipstream from the guy that's on provisional pole at the moment, so there you go.
But Lorenzo was on a green and then a purple as well. Over. That surprises me. Lorenzo was on such a good lap, so unless he didn't have fuel to make it...
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of as James drifts out of that corner. He's got to have no fuel to make it, but if he would have known that, so why would he have continued unless he's decided he doesn't want to give the car behind slipstream unless he saw the sector?
Eventually.
It could be that. They are obviously a big team of the racing team. There's a bunch of them in GT3 class as well, so they could be watching the LMP2 sector times as well and telling them. They're a big team unit, they are, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is getting some additional information from his team saying, the car behind you's gone purple. Do you want to just pull out of the way?
Yeah.
See what James does end up doing on this lap. He goes P7, so 4 tenths off, and he's P7, so that's how close the field is. As Ryan Martin on the stream has said, Porsche Cup, what? Yeah, you have gone into a bit of a Porsche battle there, haven't you? You're right in the middle of quite a few of them. Little Ferrari badge just sticking out a little bit there.
Well, you know, it's not as bad as like it would be like I've seen in some World Endurance Championship races with LMP2 where everyone's in an Orica chassis except for that one team that turned up in the Ligier, and it literally sticks out like a sore thumb when they show like the qualifying results, and that Ligier is like somewhere near like mid-pack, maybe like slightly lower, and there's just Oricas everywhere except for that one car, and like you immediately know who it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, at least we know that the first Ferrari is going to be Ryan, so
yeah.
We can judge that one.
Yeah, not to take anything away from Adam, by the way. Adam is also fast in his own right.
And he's, of course, in the exact same liveried car. You never know. We're gonna choose which one it would be.
So this is one thing that I'm sure we will very much find out as we go out through the season is who really is like the top of their team, you know? Are the teams using some sort of team orders or anything like that within the racing? Because again, for example, with the Leo Racing team, they've got so many cars in LMP2, but they also have quite a few cars in GT3. So for them, do the LMPs let the GT3 cars guys know, hey, by the way, I'm coming up on you in a few laps. I'll probably catch you here. Do you guys just want to like pull over? Let's make it easy on each other. Or are you in the middle of a battle? Can we try and disrupt that in some way? Now, I'm not saying there's that sort of level of meta game going on, but it could happen.
Yeah, it'd be smart to. The last season when we thought they'd use team orders, they didn't. So yeah, I think they'd be giving each other additional information, probably telling each other when they're going to come up on them. But yeah, they're not one for team orders too much. They like to just get on and race with it. So it would be smart for them to tell the other cars, like in the other class, oh, we'll catch you here. Hopefully, as if they can talk to each other, it would be smart for them to, you know, make a pact of how they're going to get out of the way as Izzo goes pole for now, which extremely close, but
so close, isn't it?
He's pipped his teammate by 200ths of a second. And yeah, that's extremely close. But yeah, so it would be smart for them to tell the other team, like, yeah, I'm going to catch you here. You going to stick to your line or not? That if you would though, wouldn't you? If you can have the discussion with an LMP2, you'd ask them when they before,
Yeah.
so you knew. 'Cause it's just better to have the information than to not. As Carlo goes P7, so he improves again. So it is top 5 within half a second.
It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Absolutely absurd that the top 9 are within 6/10 and the top 8 are within 5/10 of each other. Like, that is one thing that I think you look at as an LMP2 driver and you're thinking, if I just find anywhere to improve, I'm gaining a position. Like, just if I improve by 1/10, I'm either gaining a position or I'm gaining like 5.
Franks is on this one. He's still on it.
Whoa.
Whoa. Yeah, it's fantastic. Is he going to... He's got to get pole here, isn't he? Purple last sector.
Indeed he does, but again, look how close it is!
Yeah, he's not really...
How close it is!
Oh, Lorenzo's on a go. Let's see if he can just pip and by a little bit as well. They're not... What did you say they needed? Because they're getting close to the 129s now, bit by bit by bit.
Yeah, he needs to find just 1/10. Really, if he can find any more than that, that'll be very impressive from Lorenzo, and indeed he does. 1 minute 30.172, and currently our fastest LMP2 on track, but Benjamin Seiss is going to be trying to give it a damn good go. Currently not really improving massively, just sort of improved through Sector 1 and then sort of down everywhere else. But Dio right now for the good old Anti-Stall Racing team. Love to see that. Love to see the colours out there as well. Well, I say you love to see the colours. For me, he's racing a Penske livery, which is a little bit...
I'm seeing a Penske one too, yeah. See, I'm seeing two yellows.
He needs to... Yeah, maybe someone, like, if he is racing for Anti-Stall, someone needs to, you know, send over the livery to him.
Yeah, they've got a
proper
few
team livery
ones
going.
He is improving on his time. It's not going to be up there, but he still might improve on his place. P10, so he does improve on one position. Miguel's on a time as well, apparently, but then it says that he's gone green and yellow, 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 so I'll be surprised if he does improve, but we'll stick with him to see. He only needs a 10th get in front of Sebastian. Oh, he found the 10th. He got in front of Sebastian. Goes P11. What are the top lot doing? Anybody on times? Izzo is on one by 2/10 quicker, but he's got a car right behind him.
Izzo just needs to ignore that and go. So unless that car held him up in the bus stop, which it didn't look like it did.
No, because that car is on for purple sectors apparently at the moment. Dylan.
So Dylan van der Lands is right up behind him and could potentially take pole. And how gutting would that be if you are in car number 46 right now? Of you set pole and then immediately the car behind you, the number 420 of Dylan, immediately takes it from you within seconds.
Yeah, within the draft too. Like,
yeah.
Even though he's got that from taking your draft, I think he's now, because he's so close to him, has lost a little bit of time. But he's still definitely improving on what he's on at the moment, so he might jump up to 8th. Got Max out there, which has gone a little bit quicker. People are going temps here, temps there. I don't think there's any purples, but someone just needs a good green run the entire way through. Look how big that curve is. They jump off the edge of it. See, look, he went purple, but then he's gone yellow, yellow, yellow because he was so close to Izzo. Don't know if either of them are going to improve.
Nah, it's going to be very, very tight, isn't it? 1 minute 30.7 from Izzo and 131.3 from Dylan. So, not an improvement for either of them, and they need to really put the hammer down. Speaking of putting the hammer down, Lorenzo Castellani right now, purple through Sector 2, green through Sector 3, yellow, though, in first and fourth sectors, so we've got to see how good is his final corner. Gets right up to the wall. So tight, so close. Does he improve at all and push that gap even further?
No.
I don't think he did.
No, I don't think he did. Didn't come up with a time at all, so I wonder if he did clip the wall and it got rid of his time. The only thing I can think of, but it looked like he hit it, but he might have been quite close to it.
Yeah, either that or that was an outlap.
Yeah, that's how much he's pushing to start a lap, isn't it?
Yeah. Although he did pull off to the side, so I'd imagine for Castellani, that is his run over.
Yeah, checkers out now, so it's everyone's coming to the end of their times. That car looks broken from Robert. Slightly. I wonder if the rear right is bent. 'Cause it didn't
Oh yeah,
look like it was
looks as though
driving.
he's been hit into the rear a little.
Yeah. Right, they're on it again. Is Izzo and Dylan. Dylan this time round, no purple, but more greens than last.
Oh, huge extension there. I'm wondering whether or not that was an off track, and if it was, we're not going to see Dylan finish this lap. But he's still trying to go for it, so let's see. He did improve, puts himself above Labate there in P8 and ahead of James in P9, so sets himself P7. And again, that qualifying is so close. Frank Smits still on a time. If he can find at least 1/10, he could improve and he could go ahead of Castellani, but with 3 yellow sectors, unless this is purple, I don't think it's going to be enough. And unfortunately for Smits, that's not quite quick enough. James, Ibram, and Benjamin Seiss, the only ones who are improving on their lap times, it looks like. James coming over the line now. And again, I'm not sure if that was close enough to improve his time. And never mind. Improves by 2/10, puts himself P6. And then Seiss does improve, but again, not by much. Only about 1/10, but it was enough to at least reduce the gap in qualifying. But yeah, if you're not gaining those positions, that's really going to upset things in terms of the championship standings.
We didn't even go over those.
We haven't.
I have those for everybody, but we didn't even go over them. They're different now because the qualifying's happened. But before we came into it, I just don't really showing you because it's completely different now. Because that would have completely changed. But they'll be there for next week. You'll have championship points for next week. Now, what are we in now? We're going to go to warm up, won't we? But
yes.
Yeah, just before we actually, we'll quickly just show people. This was the standings for the LMP2s coming into the event. Obviously, it's changed now because of qualifying, so they'll all be different. As it just messes up a little bit, but they'll be different now. But Benjamin Seiss coming into this race did lead, and he still probably will be leading after qualifying, as he did get a good amount of points. But it will be definitely closer than it was. And here is the GT3s. That's, I don't know why it's also showing you the LMP2s underneath as well, so that's an interesting problem. But there's the GT3s as well. I'm sure they would have changed now, but we have a go. That's going to do that, isn't it? I'm going to have to reload the overlay, because that's decided that it wants to break. There we go.
Keep in mind, by the way, there are still more entries available for the IMSA series in LMP2, so if you want to get yourself involved, come on, join us. We don't bite, we promise.
Not at all.
But, I mean, it is absolutely insane how the points look already, even after just one race. And, you know, I think it'll be one of those that maybe if this season continues doing well, I mean, it seems like it's already off to an absolutely magnificent start. But it seems like if this continues on, then the point system will probably be adjusted and changed throughout just to make it maybe a bit more, make sure that people have more chances to come back from potentially bad race results and still end up winning the championship. Obviously, you know, the goal is to win every race without having any worries at all, but that's always not possible. So, you know, especially now with multi-class being here, it's even more important that when you do have a bad race, you can bounce back from it and immediately get back to where you were before. Because that's one thing that we'll surely see throughout the season is just unfortunate overtaking maneuvers done between classes. And that'll end someone's race, and unfortunately, there's not much really that you can be done about it. Multi-class is so... There's just so much going on, you know, and I would honestly say, out of all 3 series, this time slot for a viewer, purely from a viewer perspective, this one gets you the most bang for your buck. I mean, you got 2 races happening on the track at the same time, like getting 2 races for the price of 1. So very much worth it, in my opinion. And hey, it's all free as well. for the end viewer anyway. And you know, I hope that as well, for those of you who aren't already doing it, that maybe us showing you this IMSA series here that we're doing, maybe you guys will also follow along with IMSA and all of the other multi-class stuff that happen in real life as well, which is, it's always cool. And then ultimately, you know, you join us after getting the bug, and you know, join us for future seasons, because we love having more people around. It's great, always a good time.
It's always a great time. Should we go through a little bit of the grid maybe for the race? Aha! No, I can't show you the grid, but I can show you the results from qualifying for the LMP2, just because there's so many cars to get through.
Yep.
Or it's not going to be too easy for us to get through all of them as they go around and I get a little bit of warm up. So Lorenzo will take pole, and if you want to see his onboard lap on his pole lap, it will be up on YouTube. I want to say tomorrow. I'll ask Kevin, but he will have them done. I think it's LMP2 will be up tomorrow, and then maybe on Sunday the GT3 pole lap will be up as well. I think that's how it might be going. But yeah, so the pole laps will be on YouTube, so we get to see how brilliant the lap was, and I'm sure Lorenzo's was stunning as he managed to get 0.11 ahead of Frank. So is it a different pole set to last week, I think?
Ooh, now you're testing my knowledge.
Now
I always tend to forget.
Yeah, I'm
I always
testing
tend to
my
forget
own.
it happened.
I've seen the video several times, but I can't tell you who.
I think, off the top of my head, pole was actually... Let's see, does it have it here? No, Alessandro got pole last week. I know all of the Leo guys were all very close. I want to say it was literally top 4, all 3 Leo guys and Benjamin.
Ah.
Were all together. So that was very much worth it to see, because that was incredible. Like, literally going through on the grid and seeing yellow car, Benjamin, yellow car, yellow car. It was just like, she stuck out a lot. But yeah, if you want to maybe even run through our grid here.
Yeah, where do they line up? Do they line up at the start line, or are they all? Yeah, they are. So we do have the
full formation
lap, which is good for us because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
We do have the little pole graphic. Oh, that's funny. The pole graphic is here. Where's pole? Guess what? I don't think he's here. He's over there, isn't he? So they haven't put the pole camera in the right place for the... This is probably one of the...
for standing starts.
That's unfortunate, but have a little look at everybody. Look at that. Oh, there's one. Hello. There's a car there. That's P3. P3 of that. Izzo is what we're staring at the side of there, but everyone getting into their cars. So it is Lorenzo that takes pole, Frank takes P2, Izzo takes P3, Benjamin P4, Hakkinen P5, James takes P6, Max in P7, Dylan P8, Carlo P9, Dio P10, Sebastian P11, Miguel P12. Let me just cross over. There's more to come. Oh, have I pressed the right button? No, that's the results. I want the grid. That's the one. Leon in P13, Roberto in P14, Kevin Burke in P15. Then we go to the GT3s, but it won't change anything. So cool, right? We're gonna they go off slowly afterwards. So it is Fabio that takes P1, Luigi P2, Ryan Martin P3. Raul Suarez P19, which is technically P4. It's going to be difficult to keep note of that. Lizzo P5, P6 is Tim, P7 is Getso, P8 is Adam. That's going to be really confusing as it says P. Reading P23, thinking P8, P9 David, P10 Thomas, P11 Rick, P12 Lambert. It's really difficult to draw every time I'm reading. Going, that's not the right number I'm saying. P13 Christian, P14 Carl, P15 Sean, P16 Richard, P17 Sibion, and is that everybody? No, it's not yet. There's still loads more to come. Tony takes... I've lost track what Tony takes.
That was 18. 18.
Yeah, 18. Tony. I can read it from a different... If I read it from somewhere else. P19 is... I've lost the thing. There we go.
19 should be Eli with
yeah, there. And P20 is Louis. Yeah, sure, that's P21 Louis. P22 is Jacob. P23 Thomas. And, well, I can't get that wrong. P24 is Thomas. 24 is Thomas. Martin Brandon's missing. It says that he's going to be P23, but he is definitely not there on that screen. It's the two Thomases that is there. Nils is apparently in there, but Nils is a steward, so that is, yeah, that's that for the grid. There's a lot of cars. There's
25 GT3s and 15 LMP2s, and you know, it is difficult to keep track of everything. Absolutely, it is. Yeah, it's not easy at all, as we will soon see the safety car pull off, and then Frank Smits shouldn't be leading the way, but is.
Yeah, there should be Lorenzo there, but
it should be leading us away. So we'll have to get an onboard, and then much like we had last week, they will go off. There'll be a small gap between the LMP2s and the GTs, and then the GTs will blast off behind them as well at the order of the GT leader. So it is very much a game that the Leo Racing team can play of, they can say when they're going, and as long as they catch it right, then, well, Frank's not going to have anything to answer with. But here we go, round the final corner. When does Lorenzo pull in and start this race? Safety car is in. Lorenzo has gone as soon as he can. So Lorenzo does start the LMP2 race here, or the LMP2 part of the IMSA race, as immediately Izzo is on the attack onto Smits up the inside, and there's been contact. Smits is already off, already around, as that is now everybody trying to get through pretty cleanly, aside from Izzo, it looks like. So LMP2 very much single file already, and what are our GT3s doing? Let's have a look, see how the GT3 start is. As through turn one we go, everyone looks like it's a bit cleaner for the GT start, as Fabio led everyone away, and immediately Luigi behind him, already setting the pace with all of the other cars going side by side behind them. So this is going to be a very spicy bus stop. Who's going to give anybody room? They're going three wide into the bus stop. Lads, you want to try and figure this out before you get there? And I think very smart from Goetze, just backed off immediately, saw that could potentially get a little bit dangerous, and went, nah, I'm good. I ain't going three wide into the bus stop, you crazy. And just let the other guys through for now, and he's going to start battling his way back up the order. But wow, I mean, already GT3 is going absolutely crazy. Three wide through the bus stop is absolutely insane. I don't even know really why they'd be trying to go three wide, but hey, as we move back onto the end of the lap one for the LMP2s, we have the number 93 of Sebastian van der Hoevel, who is currently trying to chase down, who is that, Truvier in P9, who is then ahead of one of the Leo Racing cars side by side into T1. I'm not sure who that was further up the road. I believe that is Van der Lands actually battling with
James.
I want to say that's James.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've got from P6 all the way down into P. They're into the bus stop again. Come on, boys, let's stop doing this. Three wide into the bus stop is very much not okay, and already we're seeing drama and action absolutely everywhere. All these guys are trying to make as much time up as possible. Everybody is trying to find all the room that they can.
Oh, they've definitely
so close between Sebastian and I believe that's Dylan van der Lands. Huge crash there between the number 93 and I'm not sure what other car that is. Yeah. That's the Penske, but not quite Penske car.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Of Sebastian van den Heuvel, and what happened here? I believe just got on the grass and immediately car as a passenger at that point. Sebastian van den Heuvel is out of this race, you're thinking, as Truvier is also going to be limping back to the pit lane after an incident like that, and that is not what you want to be seeing early on. It's only lap 2, 3 minutes have passed, and that car is not very happy indeed. As Castellani, though, set in purple first sectors, because why not? just everyone is already through already, and it's yeah, it's as per usual. This race is absolutely insane. Tim Perry currently on our screens battling with Ryan Martin, trying to find a way through and finding it a little bit difficult to really get anywhere. Obviously, you've got really turn one, and if you don't make the move through turn one, the bus stop is really tricky. And then you're just sort of stuck following until turn one again. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not anyone else can catch up behind, as the GT3s are very much starting to filter themselves back out again now. So it's, once again, GTs are all very close, but no one's really making any moves except for earlier on. I think that was Gardner and Knudsen there. And Knudsen got off the worst of that one. The Mercedes tried sending it up the inside, and I'm not sure exactly what happened. But here we go. Kyle on... There's another Mercedes, so I'm not sure who that other Mercedes is. And we'll see. The Mercedes tries to go up the inside, and they both turn in, and that is... Yeah, already. That is a little bit of an incident, and one that could have been pretty avoidable, I think. It's fair to say. As is Max Voss out of this race? Has he disconnected?
Yeah, I couldn't find him for some weird reason there. It says has dropped down out of nowhere.
Unless he was potentially having some disconnection issues.
Yeah, I don't have a crash from anywhere. Or do I? Not like a recent one. Any recent than the crash we just watched, so I don't know where he's disappeared to. Some weird reason when I go on board of the GT3s, it says that a bunch of the LMP2s are out, and then eventually they overtake them, which is kind of annoying. But they're not out. Like, for example, at the moment, the leaders in the GT3s are apparently out of this race, but they're not.
You'll have to update your drawn cars for that. You got to make sure you can draw every single car on track, otherwise it won't get updated. Which is the lovely, wonderful behind-the-scenes things here at any sort of iRacing broadcasting. It's the unfortunate thing that happens. But
yeah, should be drawing all of them. Interesting that they're not. Interesting.
I'll have to wait and see how the battles are in LMP. Currently, Hakon is trying to battle with Benjamin Seiss, and really, they're just sort of trading lap times back and forth at the moment between the number 94 and the number 37 of Benjamin Seiss. So no one really seeming to gain an advantage, except like when, for example, this last lap, Benjamin Seiss set personal best with a 131.0. Hakon set a 131.3, but now you'll probably see Hakon will go 0.3 quicker this lap, and Benjamin Seiss will have a potentially not as good of a lap. Either that, or Benjamin Seiss is now putting the hammer down and trying to catch up to the back of Smits, because that gap went down from a second to 0.7 within the space of about 3 corners. So pushing it is Benjamin Seiss, trying to catch up as fast as he can, and still, in my opinion, the best looking car on the grid. People can fight me over that. I very much am accepting criticism on that one, but I don't know what it is. Benjamin's livery, it's just top tier. And further down the field, we do have a quite tight battle between Luigi Nespolano and Fabio. I believe both cars currently within 0.4 of each other, so very, very close between the Leo Racing Team teammates, and I believe the car behind them as well is another Leo Racing car, so Leo Racing top 3 in GT3, unless that's just another yellow car and not actually the same team.
No, it's definitely the Leo ones, yep. Definitely all 3 are Leo.
And speaking of Leo, here comes the LMP2 traffic, trying to overtake all the Leo cars and make sure that they can get through nice and cleanly, because this is about the time, and you can see it on the track map. Look at how many cars we have on the same space on track right now, in comparison to everything else that's going on. That is a lot of cars in the same place on track, and not very many cars anywhere else. But there was a incident between car number 14, 420, and 93, which resulted in a drive-through for car number 14, which Remind me again, who is car number 14 right now? You're looking at that being, I believe that was in LMP.
Oh, that's the crash with Dio. That would be Dio's one on Sebastian, the one we saw. Dio's number 14, so...
Right, so they gave that to Dio then?
I assume so. I'm trying to think was it 420 as well? That was involved?
Yes. Yeah, which was Dylan van der Lands.
Yeah.
So potentially that's an older incident, because I didn't think he was involved, but...
I wouldn't have said he was involved with it unless... Was there 3 numbers there? There was, and 293, which is Sebastian. So unless they're counting... I wouldn't have said there were 3 of them involved. I said it was just between Dio and Sebastian, but okay. That's the only incident I can think of involving those cars. Apparently Rick Jansen's gone into the pit, which is early.
Yeah, it is very early, but potentially, and again, I'm going to mention it because it was very impressive last week out. The one stop from Benjamin Seiss. I'm going to mention it, and I think that Ben is considering doing it again. We'll have to wait and see when everyone else pits and whether or not Ben pits with them. But yeah, very, very close. And oh, I did say the LMPs were going to try and overtake through the chicane. Oh, jeez, that is not where you want to be trying to do that, boys. And so, you know when I was saying that these LMPs are this big car, that was a massive crash. Who was that between? That was James and someone else.
James and Hookinen are involved because Max has just passed them, so there's got to be GTs involved somewhere here.
Yeah, so this is going into the hairpin after the bus stop, and Hakon just loses it a little bit, and then James just tags him, and then boom.
No, it was Max tags him.
Incident.
James is there at the innocent parties, and Max has given him a tag just before it. That's unfortunate.
I thought it looked like there was netcode to spin Hakon in the first place.
Yeah, that's going to be definitely looked at.
And of course, that is, immediately under investigation as to what happened there. But I believe it was possibly netcode from James's side. So, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, all under investigation. I'm not surprised by that. But those two could possibly now be out of this one. It's taking a few of the LMP2s out there. Really falling by the wayside, aren't they, at the moment? Izzo's close to the back of Dylan. He's right on the back of Dylan.
Yeah, and again, you got to be careful when you try and go for the move here if you're Izzo, because you don't want to risk anything at all. And especially with the GT traffic now coming up, it's going to be very, very close indeed. And they're squeezing each other all the way to the side of the circuit. And that is, I wouldn't necessarily say dangerous driving, but it's definitely not what you would call sportsmanly. And yeah, Izzo, quite rightly so, flashing the lights in either frustration or in notifying the GT, hey, get out the way, mate. We're in a race here. We've got places to be. And if you don't, if you don't find it soon, we're gonna be very much up there as Alessandro dives up the inside of Van der Lands. And is he gonna be able to make that move stick? It doesn't look like he can yet. Looks like maybe Van der Lands got the better run out the corner, as there is an incident between car number 78 and 218 under investigation. Alessandro giving not very much room to Dylan, in fairness, but likewise, Dylan didn't give him much room either. So both these drivers racing as hard as possible. Alessandro wiggling a little bit. It's just like, hey, mate, do you want to maybe chill? Because this is getting a little bit too aggressive, I think. And yeah, Izzo finally gets that move done, finally gets it to stick, and is now more focused about making sure his teammate knows what's up. If that is a teammate of his. No, that's just a boosted car.
So there's that last incident is between a LMP2 and a GT3, so noted both of them are still going, so maybe one just got in the way of the other, but both are still running.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, obviously. This track is so difficult to have everyone battling at the same time because it's a very tight circuit, and there's not much room for error. So once these LMPs start getting involved with the GTs, and we're seeing it now, it can cause absolute pandemonium here, as the top 3 in GT3 are all separated now by about 1.5 seconds.
Well, they're just up the road here. They are just here, which is where these LMP2s are getting involved in now, and they're switching positions.
Here comes the Leo cars blocking effectively and causing an entire three-way fight. So are the Leo guys playing with team orders? It doesn't look like they are, because those two drivers are definitely battling each other as LMPs are getting all over the shop, and the LMPs are going to cause this battle to just continue to rage on here between Bernardi and Nespolino. And if they're not careful, they're going to bring Suarez into the mix as well.
Oh, they definitely, they just have by doing that, definitely. He's on the back of them now, and he'll be happy about that. But yeah, that was incredible to watch them two go side by side, while another Leo from an MP2 side of things just comes along and goes past, really adding to the battle. And yeah, it's definitely cost them time. They've made the move, but they've lost a bit of time to the leader, and yep, now they've got another car on the back of them that isn't involved in their team, and we know he's quick as well.
Yeah, so again, the outcome of a couple of these incidents, so that's the number 94, 103, and number 8, there is a drive-through penalty for car number 103, who is Max Voss. So can't remember who the other cars there were.
So that was the one with Pacon and James, the one where we thought it might have been maybe netcode. So they've looked back at that and no, they've put it on not being.
I'd imagine they put it on. That spin between James and Hakon was netcode, and then Max probably could have done a little bit more to avoid the situation that ended up happening between them. So, I mean, the LMPs do need to be aware that a lot of these GT guys are going to stick to their line, and they're going to wait for you to drive around them, not the other way around, because that's how it should be, in my opinion.
Fully.
You know, in multi-class, the faster car should definitely be the one trying to overtake, and the slower class car needs to be aware of that and, you know, not necessarily give up the position really easily, but at least make it easier to make that move done in the end.
Yeah, be predictable is the crucial part. If you're not predictable, how you're gonna cause a crash because the other car's has to react to what you're doing. There's not too much going on down here. They're just a couple of attempts off each other. It's nice to see that David Contos has a teammate there in a Audi. That's nice to see. I'm gonna go and look at that car.
A little bit further down the field, though, there is a battle going on between Lewis Grieg and João Diaz for P16 in GT3. That's P31 and P22 on track right now.
Yeah, look at that.
It is very close on track between 4 cars here. We've got the 3 Mercedes even. No, sorry, it was just 2. I saw 3 because I saw Eli Singh ahead of them.
Yeah, in the distance there's another one.
Eli isn't involved in this battle, so it's 2 Mercedes, a Lamborghini, and BMW all battling on the same piece of tarmac. The Lambo is going to try and go up the inside. Is the Mercedes going to be able to go up the inside of the Lambo again? And indeed he does. So the Lambo went very deep, and then the Mercedes was like, right, I'm back on it. And then the BMW may be able to try and use that grunt of the BMW engine to sit in maybe the Mercedes slipstream and make the move on the Lambo into the bus stop chicane. But again, this is one of those moves that you need to be side by side going into it, otherwise it's very, very risky. And indeed, the BMW just backs off because he knew he wasn't going to be alongside enough to really justify going for it. So he is now in. Speaking of people who are in, Max Voss is doing his drive through. So Max Voss already having to come through, and that's going to affect his plan, I imagine.
I know it's difficult to tell, but I'm pretty certain the lead's changed. I know all 3 of them look exactly the same, but I'm certain that they've changed it.
It has. Yeah, Fabio and Alessio were having a great battle for a couple of corners for P16, and Alessio came out the victor in that one. So we have had a lead change here in GT3 as the LMPs were getting involved and the LMPs have sort of died off a little bit in terms of fights amongst each other. It's now part for the LMPs side of it. It's a race of attrition now. It's right, we're going to very much sit here and we're going to not necessarily battle each other. We're just going to do our own thing. We're going to pit when we need to and just try and get through traffic as quickly as possible so that we're not affected. And then once we get near to the second pit stop and all the second pit stops have been done, then we'll see all of the LMP2 battles raging once more. I am certain of it. But in GT, top 3 Leo racing cars, all very much close together on track. You could separate them with a blanket, I'm sure. As I believe Adam Hedgecock is in for his first full pit stop, actually. So, interesting to see that he takes it so early. Keep in mind that we have another...
Well, he was in for 8 seconds, it says. Apparently. He was only in the box for 8 seconds. So to me, he's picked up some damage along the way and decided that he wants to come fix it. That'll be my
Me, it was saying he was in the box for 15. So.
15. Is that long? That's long enough, isn't it, to put fuel in, I guess? I'd say it is.
Yeah, but I'm wondering whether or not potentially that's just a fuel stop. And you wouldn't imagine that would be tyres.
Nah, so he's going to put some fuel, so he's definitely doing a 2. Guarantee.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering whether or not it's too early.
I think it is quite early. Look how close it is now for P2.
These LMP2 cars, I told you the traffic is what will make them break earlier on. And yeah, Benjamin Seiss right now back onto the back of Frank Smits. And seemingly hasn't really had to drive much faster to do it. It's just the traffic getting in the way, plays in the favour of Benjamin Seiss. And I'm sure coming up in a few corners' time, we have that big battle going on in GT for a couple of other positions further up the road that these cars will very quickly make a hash of. As speaking of making a hash, that is
this is what's under investigation. This here is under investigation. They're going to tag each other a little bit. Yeah,
I think maybe that's on Martin Brandon actually for turning in just a little bit too much. I think the room was there for that Lambo. And the Lambo had the right to the corner, so I'd be viewing that as just a racing incident, in fairness.
Yeah. I'm surprised no one else got collected, really, with those 2 cars stranded where they were. But yeah, everyone seemed to have got through that unscathed other than the 2 cars involved. But stewards are looking at one. They're going to get busy, aren't they?
Well, indeed. The stewards have a lot to focus on in this race, as do we in the commentary booth. Because these cars are just... I mean, every single time we see the action on track, there's cars absolutely everywhere. And there's always going to be action as Benjamin Seiss goes up the inside there of the GT. Very nice and very quick as well, which is important for Benjamin right now. He needs to keep onto the back here of Frank. And if he's going to try this potential one-stop, and again, we'll find out whether or not he is, based on whether or not he's doing what he did previously. If you ever take an onboard and you listen to him in the braking zones, you'll actually hear he was putting in the clutch into the braking zones to really save on fuel. So if he's still doing that, then potentially he's trying for the one stop.
Somebody hit the wall in the background. Eli definitely clonked the wall.
As Lorenzo is in for his pit stop as well, by the way.
Put this in front, car in front. Oh, that's unfortunate that the other car of Louis couldn't avoid him. Louis now gone to the pits, I think, as well, maybe to get rid of some of that damage. As you said, Lorenzo is in, and so is Carlo. So pit stop time for some. Somebody's just jumped to the pits, so somebody's had an accident and had to take a tow. So I don't know why exactly, how they don't have one for that one. But yeah, cars are in. See what Benjamin ends up doing. It's different, isn't it, for the GT3 pit stops and the LMP2? They shouldn't really be pitting at the same time, should they?
I don't think there was any ruling on it. Obviously, we can try and maybe get clarification, as there's a big touch there between, that was Nespolino and one of the other LMP2 cars.
Oh, it's Hakon, but I don't know why it's showing me this view. Go, find Hakon, find him. I saw it live. Here we go, Hakon Hill got the inside, or third place in the GT3s. And give him a bit of helping hand.
Probably a little bit too far back, really, from Hakon to try and make that move work.
And that's cost one of the Leo racing cars quite a bit of time. Which one was it in? Was it Nespolino that's just cost time?
Yeah. Yeah, Nespolino was the one involved in that one. So
Benjamin has
that was car number 79, so we'll have to wait and see.
Have they pitted? They're pitting. Here they come. Oh, they're in a queue of cars as well in the pits. Look at that, everybody's
at the same time. Is interesting to see how close Benjamin was getting to the back end of him. So yeah, there's everyone coming into the pit lane now. Everyone pitting around the same sort of time, 23 minutes into this race. We've had 16 laps so far, estimating around about 35 to 36 laps here in the LMP2s at least. So obviously the GTs maybe a little bit slower, probably won't do as many laps. I believe quite a few of them are already laps down on the respective leader of the race. But I believe pretty much everyone in the top 5 in LMP1, in LMP2 has pit. We don't have an LMP1 yet. Though, I'm just saying, ASR, if this does well, if this IMSA series does well, let's bring in LMP1. Why not?
Throw another one into the mix.
Yeah, just throw everything we've got on.
God, that's crazy! Geez. It's free wide as well. It's not even a second after you've left the pits, and it's just got insane. He did just lose a place as well.
Yeah, lost it to a teammate, which, I mean, if you're Alessandro Izzo, you're thinking, right, I need to overtake this guy now, because I want to be the best in the team.
But there's an action, no further action for those two, and, well, I don't even know that one.
180 and 418.
Oh, no, I know that one. I know that one. That's
that was the one on the exit, wasn't it?
Yeah, exit of the wall. Yeah, there's nothing he could do. He's in the wall at that point, you know. So at least, yeah, I agree with that statement. Yeah, it's cool. It's getting crazy, isn't it? Within seconds of leaving the pit lane, having to make it free wide, and it's telling that people are jumping to the pits when they're not. They're just getting into their pit box, which is slightly annoying, but there we go. So I think a few of the leaders, the leaders are in for the GT freeze, is what I'm learning. Or they're leaving the pits now, actually. So
Alessio is the only one who hasn't pit yet. So Alessio is doing one more lap, but everybody else is already in. So car number 94, drive through penalty. No, car number 94 is Hack-on. So that was for the incident that we had earlier.
Yeah,
I believe on the Lambo, which I said was pretty avoidable, to be fair. I think Hack-on can hold his hands up there and be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Yep, fair enough.
Yeah, that one. That one I think we agree with. It's getting chaotic.
Oh, jeez, 3-1.
He's got him.
I mean, the Leo guys are using traffic to battle each other, which is, I mean, maybe they're not using team orders as we thought they might be.
None at all there. He's actually passed him. He's actually made a pass there up the hill free wide. He's squeezed his teammate. It's just chaotic. Yeah. Well, there's some respect between the two teammates. They know their limits, but crikey.
And a bit further up the road, Benjamin Seiss and Lorenzo Castellani are about to battle it on for the lead of this race. Actually, no, sorry, not Benjamin Seiss and Lorenzo. That's actually Frank Smits and Benjamin. So Benjamin has managed to actually jump Frank in the pit lane, which was incredibly well done. And now Frank is definitely on the back end and trying to battle with him as hard as he can. And I believe if we jump on board with Benjamin and Frank, we may actually see that there is GT traffic getting involved as well. So, again, it's going to be one of those things that, is the traffic going to affect Benjamin or is it going to affect Frank more? Because it helped Benjamin earlier on. Now, is it going to help Benjamin one more time, or is it going to hinder him? We'll have to wait and see, as this car should be pretty easy for both of them to deal with. Maybe up the hill is a little bit awkward, more so for Frank than it was for Benjamin. But now we've got all this big slipstream run here for Frank Smits. The car number 55 is going to be slipstreaming Benjamin all the way down. Is going to be trying to get up all the way onto the inside line going into the bus stop chicane, but sticks behind quite cleverly. Wants to maybe just say to Benjamin, hey mate, I'm here. I'm just going to keep pressuring you, but I'm not going to make a move just yet. I'm just going to keep pressuring you into a mistake maybe. And then that's when I'll start to pounce and you'll really see my pace. As on board with Lammert as well right now, I believe, is a battle that's raging on in GT. Or at least was. That gap is now immediately extended, just as I mention it. Maybe I should stop talking about how close GT cars are. But Sean Gardner is a battle that's also close as well, between himself and the car in front of Richard. And then also behind them is Tony as well. So all three of these GT cars all battling it out on track right now. Very close between all three of them for P11 in GT3. And yeah, keeping track of everything here is yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, I think we had
Indeed.
who did we have go off? I feel like we had Christian. Let me just see if I can see it or not. I don't know if
Eli Singh has also had a jump to the pit lane. He looks like he's crashed out.
Go on, allow. Oh, it's not going to allow me to. Yeah, because he's jumped to the pits. Now ruined chance of finding the Christian going off one. Maybe Christian goes off. No, yeah, we're not going to find that now. I don't think as things are changing. No, I lie.
Number 14. Who is car number 14 right now, actually?
Ah, we found the Christian one. Car number 14, off the top of my head, is Dio.
Ooh.
Ooh, who's giving him a little nudge?
Yeah, the MP2 just sideswiping him is not great, but car number 14 has just had a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, it's definitely Dio. Let's see if I can find him. He's in the pits now.
And again, he is in the pit lane, so he'll have to immediately serve that one. So Dylan, unfortunately, not having the greatest time of it, and may call it quits after that. Understandably so, you'd reckon. But, hey, I mean, you know, that's just the nature of it, I think, in multi-class racing. You do have those unfortunate incidents that happen between drivers where the communication wasn't necessarily on point. As still on board with this GT3 battle we go, Sean Gardner and Richard, all very much trying to gain any advantage they can, and for a little while at least, there's no LMPs coming up behind them, so it's looking as though they're actually going to be pretty clear on track. I want to say the only one that's close to them now is going to be... Is the number 94 a GT, or is that
no, it's
LMP?
LMP2.
So the 94 is the next one on track that's going to be overtaking them, and that's Hakon Grebstad. And Hakon isn't even overtaking Adam Hedgecock, who's currently about 5 seconds behind these guys. So I'd imagine within sort of this time next lap is where we'll see Hakon start to disrupt this battle and maybe cause some issues for the likes of Sean or for the likes of who's that behind him? Tony. As Tony himself actually doing pretty well in that Bimmer. All three cars right now similar-ish sort of lap times. I mean, Sean dropped about 3/10 from the other two last lap, but managed to at least keep it close enough to where the times aren't mattering a massive amount. Obviously, with the slipstream, you can gain a lot of that time back, so Hakon already involved. So, yeah, ignoring what I said, Hakon, very, very quick, getting involved very, very quickly as well, as there's going to be potential for these cars to try and maybe make moves, trying to follow Hakon through and make the move on each... Tony trying to go up the inside, but again, just backs off, thinks better of it, and gonna live to fight another day for now. And if these guys aren't careful, this is going to allow Richard to pull away. Although, saying that, Sean has really started to put on the pressure onto the back end of Richard. And just as I say that, it seemed like he made a little bit of a mistake there, because he dropped back quite a significant amount from Richard. And there is an incident between car number 8 and car number 4 under investigation.
So those one's at a GT3, one's an LMP2, so that's worked that one out.
That was Gertz Gasecki in GT3.
And James.
And it's James in LMP.
Well, that's the move. Tony's going to go through. He's got the inside line for turn number 1, and that is done.
Nice and easy. But again, you've got to be careful, because even if you get the move done in T1, if you're not quick on the exit of T1, Sean is going to try and come all the way back at you with all this slipstream, all this extra speed, and if he can find the place to do it, he's going to try and maybe make a move into the bus stop. We can see how close he can get, but currently not quite close enough, and that is going to be, yep, again, just another situation where he has to sit behind and now probably wait for a few laps before he can really get back into it and get back again at car number 15. And they've decided that it's a 10-second post-race penalty for car number 4. So James Ebram still in the pit lane, actually, so I'd imagine he got some damage from that, and that was incredibly close there between Sean Gardner and Tony. Very, very close indeed, as, yeah, I almost thought, well, they were going to make a bit of contact, but...
Yeah, I thought we were about to have two beamers coming together there. Got away with it, got away with that one. He probably pressed the brake a little bit more as well there, just more than he usually would, but everyone's all good. These three stay pretty close together.
Now, I want to say, obviously, we've had about half of this race go on for so far. What have you been making of it so far, Wes, in terms of the racing between the different classes?
Oh, it's pretty crazy, isn't it? It's Tony now, lap after the other one. He's got the next car as well. He likes going up the inside of turn 1. He's done another move into P11. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? It's very quick and paced. The LMP2s, you would forget about them, and then next thing you know, they're on you. So yeah, you see what you mean by there's some clumsy errors, but yeah, it's fast. It's fast action when the LMP2 gets involved. It steps up a gear, but it's good racing, as apparently Ryan Martin's gone off. And he is one of the cars up the field. What's happened here then? What's happened to Ryan? He was, what, P6? Oh, yeah. Little moment. Off again, on again.
Good save. Very good save.
Brilliant save.
That. And we are still trying to look for... We're still looking currently at the battles with Luigi Nespolano, currently actually battling with, I believe that's Sean Gardner. So I'm not sure whether or not Luigi had a pit stop. I am trying to currently look just to see whether or not that was actually a battle that was on track right there between the two of them. But it looks as though, actually, Luigi has had a pit stop, and that's why he is now behind Sean. I was trying to work out whether or not potentially that was actually something going on there, or whether that was something a little bit different. But no, that's the reason why Luigi is now battling a little bit further down, where he probably should be, as Alessio comes in for his pit stops, and final pit stop for the GT3 runners. And a bit further ahead in LMP, the only people yet to pit, or sorry, the only people who have pit in LMP2 is Alessandro Izzo and Sebastian Van den Heuvel, who Izzo is currently 40... What is that? That's going to be about a minute off where Lorenzo is, and I don't think the pit stop, so you lose a minute, so it'd be interesting to see if Izzo could still potentially come back and win this race. It's going to be a big ask, especially considering Lorenzo has pretty much dominated it for the entire time. So, yeah, Lorenzo doing a great job at controlling this race for now, and Benjamin Seiss trying his best to battle with and run away, from Frank Smits. So, again, very, very close between the top guys, as we expect. 45 minutes of the racing gone, and the fact they're only really separated by 12 seconds, well, 24 seconds, really, if you take into account the top three. So, it is very, very close indeed, and Benjamin Seiss coming into the pit lane now is going to try and pit on the exact same lap that Lorenzo does, and maybe try and just battle on pace alone for the end of it, as Roberto also comes into the pit lane, Kevin Burke also comes into the pit lane, as Hakon does not need to pit again. Potentially might have to, but we will keep an eye on that one. Dylan van der Land's going on for one more lap as well, so we'll see him overtake Lorenzo, Benjamin, and Carlo Labatti. So Dylan van der Land's now promotes himself up to P2, but obviously does have a pit stop left to go. And we see Lorenzo Castellani coming out in P3. So Benjamin Seiss comes out in P5. There is a car between the two of them, and I believe the gap between the two of them as well is actually quite large, but not as large as it was before they went into the pit lane. Looking like there's only now a 9-second gap between them, where it was 12 seconds. So Benjamin Seiss doing a great time in the pit stop, managing to save off a couple of seconds, which could be all to play for here, as that BMW, the front end of that, looked very, very, looked like it's been in the wars, I think is what I should say. Because the bonnet of that one, not necessarily the greatest. Something that they're going to have to maybe fix back at the HQ for that team. After the race, we've got to put the bonnet back on and see where it ended up on the track. As GT guys all of a sudden now coming into the pit lane as well, probably in response to really just needing clean air. Sean Gardner coming in now and doing a pit stop to maybe try and combat with Kyle, who I believe they were around the same sort of place on track. Obviously, it's very hard to keep track of all of these cars out there on track with, 23 GTs and 13 LMPs as well. It's absolutely insane. Frank Smits and Lorenzo Castellani. Well, Frank Smits doing one more lap, actually, as Miguel and Dylan are now finally into the pit lane. So Frank trying the overcut. We're going to see whether or not it works. Car number 103 and car number 7 under investigation currently for a incident. I'm assuming that's between an LMP. That's two LMPs, actually, between Max Voss and Kevin Burke. So either Kevin wasn't abiding blue flag rules, or Max was maybe a little bit too aggressive. But yeah, that is currently under investigation, and we'll update you when we know more. Obviously, you'll see what happens, the result of that on the screen for you when that does inevitably get resolved. And very, very close there between the GT and the LMP2 of Lorenzo. That is, I believe, Eli Singh, who has probably could have made that a little bit easier. Incident between car number 808 and number 7 also under investigation right now, as Eli is just by themselves for the moment. Not much going on with Eli. Hasn't necessarily had the greatest run of it, as Ryan Martin trying to find out whether or not he can even match the lap times of Luigi. Has just come out of the pit lane, so is currently now onto his first outlap. Was in P3 before he pitted, is now going to be out in P7 in class, with only 2 drivers ahead of him needing to pit, so I'd imagine he will be in P5 in class once those guys pit, which is both Tim Perry and Tony Weishaft, so we'll have to wait and see where those guys come out. And Luigi currently battling with Tony Weishaft, and Tony should probably be looking at the fact that Luigi has already done his pit stops and not necessarily fighting this battle too hard, because it will just slow them both down, and that's not really what you want if you're Tony, because you were in a battle between, I believe it was him and Sean as well. So, you know, Sean is already out quite a few seconds behind now, 40 seconds behind you. So potentially this pit stop could be, in theory, free if that is how you want to play it. And indeed, Tim and Tony are now into the pit lane, so that is all of the GT3s having pit. All of the LMPs have pit now as well, and the gap between P1 and P2 is 8 seconds currently, with Lorenzo being the fastest LMP on track right now. Frank Smits also getting right up close to Benjamin Seiss, so that will be a battle to keep one eye on, as there is a battle in GT for the lead. Raul Suarez and Alessio Bernardi, currently 6/10 separates the two, and Raul is on a flyer right now. First lap out of the pit lane, and he's very much saying that these cold tyres don't really matter, because he's pushing that Porsche for everything it's worth. And here comes Frank Smits trying to go around the outside of Benjamin Seiss, but not quite able to do it just yet. And Frank Smits is now going to have to sit behind him and maybe use the traffic that's a little bit further ahead to maybe make a move, as there's both GT and other LMP traffic battling here between these two. And again, Benjamin needs to try and maybe make a move here. Benjamin, very, very close between all of them, and that is an incident between car number 7 and 808. Drive through for car number 7 due to an unsafe rejoin. So that is Kevin Burke, and that is why there was an incident between those guys. And once again, Kevin trying to get out of the way of these guys, but not quite able to really find the space to do so. And these GTs playing, once again, a factor in the battle here for second place in LMP2. Benjamin Seiss really wants this second, needs this second, really, after the qualifying results to still be in the championship race. So again, Benjamin is trying everything he can to battle with Frank Smits and make sure that he can keep this position and keep battling ahead as hard as he can, because Frank is going to give it everything he's got. Really wants to put on a show here for us, as indeed going around the outside, both of them very, very, very close indeed. There is a correction notice there on race control. An incident between car number 7 and 103. Sorry, not 808. It's 103. And it is a drive-through for car number 7. Still due to the unsafe rejoin. So, just correcting the car numbers there. It was car number 103 involved in that one, which was Max Voss and Kevin Burke involved in both of those. So, glad we finally got that all sorted. And this battle between Benjamin and Frank still going on, and neither of them want to give anybody room right now. And Benjamin very much trying to take the initiative through the bus stop chicane. Frank having to back out of that one and very much deciding, you know what, Ben, take that for now. I'm just going to slipstream you all the way, and if you make a mistake, then this position is mine. So how are your nerves? We have probably about, I would imagine, 3 or 4 laps left. So, unless my maths is wrong, which I'm actually not sure. Depends on where the leader is right now. And the leader is constantly getting away from these guys as they're battling 134s versus a 131 last lap from Lorenzo. So Lorenzo doing a great job right now on just being able to just keep track of everything and, you know, just making his own race known right now. Lorenzo, pretty uneventful race, he might say. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say afterwards, as the battle here now is raging on in GT. The car's now very, very close on track between Raul Suarez for the Aspar Esports team and for Bernardi for the Leo Racing team in both Porsches. So it is a Porsche 1, 2, and then behind them is also a Porsche 3, 4, and 5, because, you know, Porsche is apparently the fastest car around Watkins Glen. Although nobody tell Ryan Martin that, because he's currently in P6 and doesn't care what you Porsches think. He's still trying to very much keep up as hard as he can, and isn't actually that far off this battle. It's only 15 seconds, which in the grand scheme of things is actually pretty dang close, as the Porsche is going to try and use the LMPs as much as they can to try and give each other slipstream, as well as attack other drivers that maybe get hindered into the corners with LMPs trying to dive under braking zones and all the rest of it. Not affecting this battle for P1 as much though. Alessio Bernardi and Raul Suarez are very much battling together as they always were from the start of this lap, and nothing really affecting the speed at which this battle is continuing. So once again, I believe it's going to be a battle of who cracks first. And speaking of who cracked first, I believe Benjamin Seiss did finally get overtaken by Frank Smits, and Frank is now finally able to run away. I'm not sure if we have that pass on a replay, potentially, but yeah, indeed, Benjamin and Frank now having swapped places, and Ben is now going to be very much trying to battle as hard as he can for P2 in LMP2. And again, constantly, while looking at this, we are constantly looking at the battles further down the field in GT, and still looking at that lead battle. It's just still raging on, and it's still absolutely mental. Now we're getting the LMPs involved, and there was a switch actually for the lead. Raul finally got the move made for P1 in class, which is P14 overall, if anyone is curious where these GTs are sitting. Obviously there was 15 LMPs, and now there is only 12 still running, I believe, unless Kevin has a drive-through. So here is the pass. Raul Suarez on the outside. The Leo Racing car very much getting very aggressive, but yeah, Raul placing his car well, and the move was made, and that was it. And then obviously the LMP behind him means really there's nowhere to go, and that's sort of it. Move done, and you now just have to sit behind and wait for your opportunity to strike again. Coming onto turn number 1, and if you don't get it done in turn 1, well, you do have the bus stop as your second option. And looking back now, there is a replay here with Adam Hedgecock. Not really sure what happened here. Looking at potentially crash between all three. That is, yeah, just the GT not really thinking that maybe Adam was going to brake earlier than he did. Adam not really going for the move either. Made that just a little bit awkward between all three of them. But the battle for the lead in GT3 still going between both Porsche cars, as bouncing over the curbs goes Alessio Bernardi. Hope he brought the off-road suspension for that one, because that car was bouncing up and down like a yo-yo after taking that curb. It was yeah, something you don't really see a lot of these cars getting a lot of is good old airtime.
Has he got some damage on the front left, front right of his car?
It looks like he has, yeah. I'm not sure whether or not that was due to any contact between the two of them earlier on.
I wonder if that could be costing him the time he needs just to be there.
Speaking of time he needs, there is a battle in LMP2 between Frank and Benjamin, and Frank is that LMP2 up ahead. Benjamin is the LMP2 behind, the number 37, and they are getting very close on track. And unfortunately, it's looking as though all this traffic is just helping Frank get even further ahead of where Benjamin was able to really battle him. So I think Frank needs to send a very heartwarming message to the GT traffic, and it's like, thank you for helping me run away from Ben at the end of the race. And yeah, you can see that in the lap time difference, 0.5 difference between the two of them. And again, similar sort of lap time difference between P1 and P2 in the GT traffic. The LMP is doing more favours for Raul than they were doing for Alessio. But again, close within a second, so it's not as though it's all over yet. We still have potentially 2 more laps to go, depending on where the LMP is now versus where these guys are. I'm not sure if we can get an idea on where Lorenzo is on track right now. Lorenzo is almost near the end, so potentially there is a minute left of the race, and Lorenzo only has 3 corners left to navigate before he starts one more lap. So potentially Lorenzo is doing 2 more laps here, this one, and then 1 more, and that will be it, race over. So we'll have to wait and see. Is Lorenzo potentially going to take it nice and slow through the final corner, have a nice little bit of a break? The thing is, though, is he can't really afford to lose 30 seconds worth of time, because Frank will overtake him. So still needs to gun it, but can potentially ease off a little. So we will have 1 more lap for all these cars, which means this battle, we still have the rest of this lap plus 1 more for the battle in GT3 lead. Is Raul Suarez going to run away with it, or is the pressure going to get to him, and will Alesi manage to catch up and make the pass? He's got 1 more lap to do it. This is your white flag lap for every car on track right now. There is no more time left. You have just 1 more lap to get any more positions you can, so it's do or die time. And speaking of moves being made, I believe Gasecki passed Hedgecock there for P13 in class. I don't know whether or not Hedgecock is now moved back.
Oh wow, it's a destroyed car.
Yeah, that car does definitely not look good after the move that was made earlier on. So, yeah, Adam's Ferrari is not necessarily the happiest, and I'm sure Ferrari are not going to be happy with the bill after either. But, hey, you know, we're in sim racing, so we don't have to worry about it. Now looking at to see whether or not there are any more battles on track, but let's ignore the battles for a moment, because the winner of your Watkins Glen 1 hour here at IMSA is going to be Lorenzo Castellani, and that is a very good win indeed by him. And I want to see who is going to be next across the line. Is it going to be Frank Smits and that battle, or is it going to be the battle between Suarez and Bernardi? Frank Smits and Benjamin Seiss battling there as well across the line, and Frank did indeed get the faster of the 2 laps and ends up in P2, Benjamin in P3, Izzo in P4 in LMP. But in GT, your winner for the Watkins Glen race here in your Anti-Stall Racing IMSA series is Raul Suarez. So once again, amazing drive from him. Alessio Bernardi in P2, and then Fabio in P3, with Perry coming across the line in P4 and Nespolano in P5. And then Ryan Martin comes across the line in P6. So, yeah, once again, amazing drive from those guys in GT. As finishing up are the rest of your GT drivers, as I believe almost all of the LMPs are done, with the exception of Max Voss still has to come across the line, I believe, but aside from that, and again, battling all the way to the line here is Lambert Vedder and David Contos. That was a battle that came out of left field. Didn't expect that one. Did not keep an eye on that one. But out of the final corner, it was David Contos who held on to that one. And that was very, very close between the two. They were drag racing all the way through, all the way to the end. And that is indeed the GT3 race done of your IMSA series. The LMP2 is obviously finishing as well with a cracker of a race all the way through, to be fair, in both LMP and GT. My voice is going, it's dead. Because, again, much like we had last time out at Indianapolis Road, there was action every single second. And, yeah, it is absolutely insane to try and keep track of everything. It really is. And, yeah, I believe we will have the always say unofficial race results, because potentially, you know, these things may change with time penalties and such. Your race results here in LMP, your winner was Lorenzo Castellani, as we mentioned, with Frank Smits and Benjamin Seiss there, finishing in P2 and P3. Alessandro Izzo in P4 with Carlo Labate in P5. Miguel in P6 with Max Voss P7. Dylan Vanderlands in P8 with Hakon Grabstad in P9. Sebastian van den Heuvel in P10 with Roberto de Flippis in P11. Leon Elevout is your 12th position finisher in LMP2, and I believe that was everyone within the, at least everyone who finished on lap 38 of the race, up to lap 40, I believe we had in the end, 40 laps. But yeah, that was your LMP runners. And in terms of your GT runners, we had Raul Suarez there, takes your win from Alessio Bernardi from Fabio Ponta. So that is your podium in GT, with Tim Perry there separating the Leo Racing cars there of Fabio and Luigi. So great job from Tim Perry to get himself up there with the faster guys. Ryan Martin takes, I believe that's P6, with Tony Weisshaft in P7. Christian Glamsetter there as well further down the field. David Kontos, Lamet Vedder, Sean Gardner, Thomas Mosek, Gertz Gasecki, Adam Hedgecock. Then Richard and Martin Brandon with Thomas Amos there as well further down the field. Lewis Grieg and Simon Garrow also. And then we start getting into the, what I would say is sort of the DNF range of drivers, or potentially people who didn't necessarily have the results that they should have, with Kevin Burke there 7 laps down off of, I believe, the LMP lead, finishing P13 in class, with João Diaz there in P20 in his class, which is P33 overall. Eli Singh there in P21 for GTs, with Thomas Notto P22 in his class, Carl Knudsen P23 in his, with James Ibram and Dio as well also having issues in LMP2, finishing 14th and 15th in class respectively. And again, Rick Hansen having early issues and out of the race. But Wes, that was absolutely amazing racing as always. And yeah, this racing is always absolutely insane every single time. And really, everything is just, the IMSA series is going to provide so much action so often that it's going to be so hard to keep track of absolutely everything we've got here. But yeah, it's insane as always. And yeah, hopefully everyone enjoyed that. We do have a member of the LMPs with us. Kevin, how you doing, mate?
How's it going? How's it going?
So, you know, you had just obviously finished there at Watkins Glen, and in terms of the racing, saw that you were a little bit further down the order. Was that due to incidents through yourself, or?
Well, I was kind of being consistent, and there was a guy called, was it Philippe, and I was pushing to take P10 back, but then I was going through and I got hit, so I gone in the pits as you do, come back out, and then I got black flagged because when I got hit, I kind of did a dangerous move, which is accepted, but then I did the drive through and I went on, And I went through the drive-through and come back around again, and I thought, oh, I've got black flagged, and then it said disqualified, so I thought that was it, race over. So I just left it at that. But that was a really good race. I was enjoying it, and it was very aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah, we see it a lot as well. We've seen lots of GT3 traffic being aggressive, lots of LMP traffic being aggressive, battles between classes as well as inter-class battles being very aggressive as well. And obviously, I can't remember whether or not you were there last week as well, but in terms of a series, how do you think the IMSA series is for yourself?
Well, this MC series will probably be a good one. This is the first time me driving LMP2. I'm usually a GT3 man. I usually drive the Audi. I've switched to the Beamer recently, but I thought let me try something different. So, only thing I was lacking was a bit more pace going up that hill before the bus stop. If I could have got a bit more pace there, I think I would have been a bit more closer to the leaders. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good season this.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as I'm sure a lot of people are out there as well are very noting is the way that we have, obviously, we've got effectively two races happening on the same track. And as a driver, how does that actually affect your own race? Obviously, when you come across these GTs, do you actually look to see if they're battling within each other, or are you sort of just trying to ignore it and just go for the gap as soon as it presents itself?
Yeah, I'm going for the gap. Back to the hill. Up, once you go down the straight around the bend, and you got up that hill, there was a group of us, and I just squeezed through. And I thought, oh, that was nice. That was nice. So, the odd one or two ones where I could see I'm going around the bend, I thought I'd just let them go, then take them on the straight. But other than that, yeah, and when the next race comes, I'll be going for any gaps. So
yeah, and I mean, it's always interesting to see how this racing is. It's the IMSA series is absolutely insane, and every single time I spectate it, it's always something that's just so just. It's hard to put into words how the racing is because it's mental. I think is really the only word for it. Mental is the only way you can describe it. You've got so many different cars on track, so many different battles happening on track, and the fact that all of it is happening, and it gets later on into the race, sort of, with like 20 minutes to go, and you can't look at any part of the track without seeing a car somewhere. And it's just absolutely magnificent. I love this racing. It's awesome. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you also follow us along with the Anti-Stall Racing. Get yourself involved on the website as well, and come join us in the Discord. And Kevin, mate, before we let you go, do you want to give any final words, any advice for anyone potentially, because there are still slots open in the league? Potentially,
if anybody, I would say if anybody wants to jump on this, you're gonna enjoy some good racing. I'm lower down in the field in some of the in aspect of I-rating to some other guys, but I feel like I can still compete with some of the guys and maybe push them and make myself better. So I'm suggesting to people, join. It's worth it and it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There are only spots left in LMP2, so if you want to get in, make sure you pick that up as soon as you can. Next week we're off to quite a special track, actually. Back-to-back American circuits, well, back-to-back American circuits for our first 3 weeks. We are off to the Daytona International Speedway, and that it was going to be the road course. We're not going to do an hour's worth of multi-class oval racing. That would be insane. That would, be very insane. But we are off to Daytona, and then the week after that will be Fuji. So get yourself involved for both of those. So again, much thanks to everyone involved here. All the drivers, all of the race control team as well. Thank you all for doing the amazing job that you do. Broadcasters, we are all very much thankful that we're all here. And again, shout out to you viewing the stream, giving us all of the motivation we need to continue on. And we'll be back again next week for the IMSA series. Make sure you tune in as well on I believe it's Mondays and Tuesdays for the other leagues. I will be told if that is wrong.
Tuesday is the touring. I'm in that as well. The Tuesday is definitely the touring 1000. No, 'cause I'm in the Tuesday and the Friday.
Nice. And then I believe, Monday is your IndyCar series as well.
Yeah.
So IndyCar series is going to be at the Texas Motor Speedway? Yes. And where are you guys going for the touring cars? Do you know?
Silverstone National.
Silverstone National. That's going to be one hell of a race.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure you guys get involved with all of that. Make sure you follow us along here at the Anti-Soul Racing Series. And once again, I have been Ava. Very much looking forward to next week here in the IMSA series. And yeah, much love. Get yourself out there on track. Follow us on our socials. Can't wait to have you along with us. Bye for now.